The next Spyro title is apparently going to be big and ambitious. But what does that exactly mean? Let's talk about it. What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and I am back with a brand new Spyro 4 video. Now, this video is coming out a lot later than I had initially hoped. I tried to get it out when the new report came forward about a month ago, but sadly, I had caught a high fever, followed by the worst cases of pneumonia I've ever had, and then right when I got better, I had to go and fly to PAX East 2025. A video on that later. So yeah, if it seems like I'm behind, it's because, I am. But let's talk less about conventions and wheezing and burning lungs and talk more about Spyro. Now, I had an exclusive email interview with Paul Yan, the studio head at Toys for Bob, and the conclusion that I came to after that said interview, and in previous videos of course, is that Toys for Bob is working on a brand new Spyro title. I'm not going to reiterate all the evidence and everything in this video. If you want to hear more, just check out my entire channel. I promise you'll figure it out. The titles make sense. So let's fast forward right to the end of the interview where I asked Paul Yan to give a tease as to what they are currently working on. Paul says, quote, "I can't spill the beans just yet, but I will say that we're very much in the thick of development. The team is very thrilled about how the experience is shaping up. This game is big and ambitious and pushes our craft to new heights, and I can't wait to tell you more about it when the time is right." So, what is the key detail here? Get it? Key?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Sorry, I had to. But if you're interested in your own Spyro key or a number of other awesome merch, you can check out my Etsy store in the link in the description below. But on the basis that the project Paul is referencing is Spyro, it made me ask the question for today's video. What is a big and ambitious Spyro title? Let me be clear. This video is not going to confirm anything. We're not confirming anything that is going to be in the game because of course we haven't seen anything in terms of a trailer or an official project description, but we do have little nuggets of information that may help us get a feel or a general direction of where Toys for Bob may be heading with this brand new Spyro project. Right away, when you look at Spyro the Dragon as a franchise and project, big and ambitious aren't typical descriptors that would fit the Spyro title narrative. Spyro is nostalgic, whimsical, colorful, humorous. You get the picture. In today's world, the original games, as in the original trilogy, their scale compared to titles today wouldn't be called big and ambitious. Of course, there's a technological leap there, but you get my point. Those words wouldn't really be something that would tie to Spyro in a modern era. Now, if you're upset by what I just said, just hang on. Let me explain what I mean. Let me give an example. Let's take a look at Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Crash 4 is essentially a by the numbers Crash Bandicoot game. The game is a single perspective, 2.5D challenging platformer. It very much lives up to the idea of, hey, what if we made a modern Crash Bandicoot game but based it off of the original trilogy that was the most popular game? And that is by no means a bad thing. Crash 4 is still one of my favorite Crash games of all time. In fact, it's arguably my most favorite Crash game of all time. But I don't think this Spyro is going to get the same treatment as Crash Bandicoot 4. I don't think it's going to be the standard hub world with a bunch of levels, one boss, one flight level, collect gems and do a few mini games. I think it's going to be much, much more than that. Now, according to Paul, if this game is going to be bigger, the first thing I think of is the sheer scale and size of the levels themselves. I think they're going to be increasing significantly, and there is a piece of evidence to support this. In a previous interview that I did with Paul made a comment about how interesting it would be to explore a more open world experience in regards to Spyro.
I think that that's a big part of it as well. I think there's a lot of lessons that you could apply from modern day open world games that would be really interesting for Spyro.
And to note, this interview was about 2 months before the project actually started official development. So I think we're going to see a more open world element introduced to this project. But when you expand the scale of your world, you can't just have your main character, in this case Spyro, be exactly the same as he was before. Spyro's original moveset was based and built around smaller and more compact levels. If you were to increase the level's scale and size and not really change change Spyro's moveset all that much, the game would get pretty boring. Toys for Bob would need to introduce more traversal options and activities to fill out this new and bigger world. New moves, interactable environments, and even quests. Well, turns out we may actually have a small hint towards that as well. In a previous video that I made, we explored a number of jobs that Toys for Bob had posted, and one of the jobs they were looking for was a quest designer. We explored that job, and it turns out it's a very niche job title and is almost exclusively used for games that are considered as RPGs. Almost exclusively, let me stress that out. So I ascertained, at the bare minimum, there would be RPG elements likely blended in to this new Spyro formula. Now, I already know what some of you are going to say. Wait, are quests in the original Spyro trilogy? Couldn't the quest designer be for those? In a way, yes. But in a way, no. Yes, there were quests in the original trilogy, but they essentially were,
"Hey, Spyro, Bingus Bungus over here stole my onions. Can you get them back for me?"
I don't think you need a dedicated job position for basic fetch or hide and go seek quests. Spyro never had a quest designer before. Why would they need one now for the most basic of things?
Come on, guys, get out of here.
Where are the turtles? Where are they?
Now, according to a number of other people who are in quest design jobs, they essentially piece together quests that require a number of events to trigger in the order that they need to in the open world, and that it makes sense storyline-wise in the context to the rest of the game. Essentially, this is someone who is hired to make sure that the environment and interactions within them don't explode and work nicely within each other within the story, while also keeping the actual lore and subplot of the game intact, implying that these quests would be more complex than dealing with Bingus Bongus. Quests aren't the only thing from the RPG genre that we could be seeing in this brand new Spyro title. I think we could also see some kind of upgradable skill tree and or abilities, basically allowing Spyro to improve his moveset, combat, and more. These trees could give Spyro a longer glide, a double hover, elemental-based abilities that help Spyro traverse different parts of the levels, a bigger fire breath, or maybe a sustained fire breath. There's so much that could be explored for this purple dragon in terms of different movesets and capabilities and abilities, which leads me to my next point, and that is a deeper story. Instead of just seeing a random baddie show up and cause harm to all the dragon realms, I think we're going to see something that's not quite as linear as the past games. No, it's not going to be the next Shakespearean play or the next blockbuster movie, no, or have a plot twist that would make even M. Night Shyamalan blush, but something that has more depth and would require a little bit more attention from its audience. Probably not too much that would make a younger person confused or lost. I still think Spyro is a game for all ages, and we don't want it to get that deep. Of course, with skill trees and deeper story comes with the mechanic that I am the most worried about, and that is combat. In the original trilogy, combat was more basic than rock, paper, scissors. Fire is basically an insta-kill, and if that didn't work, you charged or you used any other miscellaneous move to get the person into a position to get flamed or charged. This took out about 95% of all enemies. I know that for a modern Spyro, this extremely basic moveset is just not going to cut it for today's games. But I don't want this to become a beat 'em up where all you do is button mash as waves of enemies come to attack Spyro. I want to see a system that is still simplistic, but more complex than the original, without the feeling of endless button mashing. And genuinely, I don't know what Toys for Bob has planned for combat, because I do think that combat could be what makes or breaks this game. If the combat is great, I think this game is going to soar. If the combat is not great, it might flop. And I don't want to give any bad suggestions, but I do think it's going to need more depth than what was in the original trilogy. Toys for Bob, this one's going to be a difficult task for you. So we have RPG elements, which includes skill trees, a deeper narrative, and better combat, along with larger scaled levels. But there is a game I want to point out to all of you that might help us draw a few more speculative conclusions. When I was finishing up my interview with Paul Yan in 2023, he asked that if, hypothetically, a new Spyro were to go into development, what games should be referenced? I personally answered Okami, and after explaining my reasoning, Paul suggested that my suggestion reminded him of Kena Bridge of Spirits. Kena came out relatively early on the PS5 and late for the PS4, and was a game that I pointed out right when I saw it. The graphics and its beauty blew me away. I revisited it for this video and immediately started to see a number of mechanics that we've spoken about in this very video and in past videos. It's become evident to me that maybe, just maybe, Paul may be drawing inspiration from this title for Spyro. As I continued to play, what I was reminded of was how beautiful the environment was and how it interacted with the main character. How in 1 second the environment was corrupted, but after being cleansed, the environment bolstered into something new and beautiful. This to me makes me think that Toys for Bob may be focused on interactive and transformative environments to add more magic and life to the world of Spyro 4. Speaking of Spyro 4, this leads me to another point. Remember how I said that Crash 4 was a by-the-numbers Crash game? Well, I think this video points out that this likely isn't going to be a by-the-numbers Spyro game. If any number of these changes happen to this game, it's going to be kind of breaking out of Spyro's original scope and comfort zone, especially from the original trilogy. I've thought about this for a while and believe that Spyro 4 possibly won't be officially called Spyro 4. I am speculatively thinking that the 4 is going to get dropped from the title. I'm still going to call it Spyro 4 in my titles and videos until we get the actual reveal, because that's what we've all come to know it as. But I think overall, the final project may have that 4 drop. We'll see though, that's me just spitballing and speculating. Now, you might be thinking, man, this Spyro game sounds a lot different. And that's because, well, it probably will be different. This is Toys for Bob's first game as an independent studio, and I don't think they are interested in doing just more of the same. I also think Toys for Bob may have a small chip on their shoulder because of what happened with Crash Team Rumble. What part of Crash Team Rumble, you might ask? All of it. Just all of it. Whether it's the stop and go development over the years, whether it's not going to free to play, or its services being cut very quickly, I think Toys for Bob wants to show off their game development skills by making a project that they feel is strong and freeing from the original ownership. But I don't think Toys for Bob is going to jump the shark like previous developers when it comes to Spyro. And while the game is going to probably be different than what we might initially be thinking, I think it is going to be a good different. A difference that will shock Spyro fans in a good way and not grossly offend or turn them away, hopefully. Speaking of grossly offended, did you know Activision tried to sell people on a fake official Crash Bandicoot game that didn't exist, while also using some of the worst generative AI that we've ever seen? If you're interested, check out this video right here.